मीनाक्षी लेखी जी।
आदरणीय सभापति महोदय, मैं अपनी बात शुरू करने से पहले एक शेर कहना चाहती हूँ अपने मित्रों के लिए कि दुश्मनी लाख करो पर इतनी गुंजाइश रखो, दुश्मनी लाख करो पर इतनी गुंजाइश रखो कि कल जब हम फिर दोस्त बने तो शर्मिंदगी ना हो। तो अभी आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, I would also like to remind this House of a name, and actually today I dedicate my speech to a doctor called Li Wen Liang, जिसको सब लोग भूल चुके हैं। और मुझे ताज्जुब है कि इस हाउस के अंदर जब इतना सीरियस डिस्कशन हो रहा है तो किसी भी मेरे मित्र ने ली वेन लियांग का नाम तक नहीं लिया। 7 फरवरी 2020 को इस डॉक्टर की मृत्यु हुई। सिर्फ भारत ही नहीं बल्कि पूरा विश्व वुहान वायरस की दिक्कतों से जूझ रहा है। आज न केवल भारत को बल्कि पूरी दुनिया को चिंता ये होनी चाहिए कि जिस जगह पर ये वायरस पैदा हुआ, जिसके कारण ये वायरस चारों तरफ फैला, जिस चीज़ को हमें डिस्कस करना चाहिए वो डिस्कस नहीं करते हुए हम भारत देश के कोने में एक छोटे से राज्य के मुट्ठी भर लोग जो कि आड़ती हैं या वो अमीर लोग हैं जो अपने पैर मसाज करने के लिए मैसूर रखते हैं या मशीन्स लगाते हैं या पिज्ज़ा पार्टी करते हैं, उनको हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। सबसे हैरानी की बात है अध्यक्ष जी कि ऐसे समय पर जब दुनिया इस महामारी से बाहर भी नहीं निकल पाया, the world is discussing what? The farmers in India, whereas farmers in India till last year were committing suicide. And to avert that, these laws have been brought. And shameful on the part of that party and the opposition who are playing with the lives. There is a saying, and I'm amending that, something which looks like a crocodile, something which swims like a crocodile, and gnaws like a crocodile is in all likelihood a crocodile. What we see is that within 1 year, 2 rights, one above the other, can be placed, and the symbols and the messages are very clear. We see anarchist and rogue forces are trying to create a civil war in this country. We see that when CAA was brought in, which was to benefit this country, every country has laws of migration, and yet a law on migration was being opposed by some elements in this country. And the riots that took place are identical to what happened on 26 January 2021. And if I begin from the very beginning, we see that in January, certain incidents took place in which our countries curbed terrorism, brought many people from margins to the mainstream. In February, I have already cited that Dr. Li Wen Liang was trying to sound the world that there is a virus which is being produced in Wuhan and is more dangerous than SARS. What happened to him? He died. And post that, what the world should be discussing is how much damage has been caused by one country. What the world should be discussing is what punitive action lies against that country. But on the contrary, what the world is discussing is farmers' protest in India, and not the farmers, but in the name of farmers. That is what is happening in this world. And that is how narratives get changed. Adhyaksh ji, I'm coming to that. The world is a friend, but how and the kind of politics which gets played, I will read out. There is something called stealth wars. And this is that stealth war which is going on. And unfortunate that people from the opposition are falling prey to it. And that is the worst thing that I expect from a member of parliament in India.
You are not making a speech.
I'm making an intervention.
Intervention,
And I'm
but-
making an intervention on international conspiracy.
Just limit it to that.
Please, please, I'm limiting it to that.
Limited.
I'm limiting it to that, and I'm bringing forth the similarities between what happened when a president of USA was visiting India, and the timeline is the March. And the March of 24th and 25th, when Delhi riots happened, was 23rd of March. To get the eyes, to get the global newspapers to publish that story, that India is not a good place to make investment. To get the eyeballs, that date was selected. Similarly, 26th of January as a date was selected. And that date was selected again to get the eyeballs, because people would have been talking about the military might of this country, the Atmanirbharta of this country. And my request to Oxford would be that as they have chosen Atmanirbhar as the word of 2021, they should choose Pappu as a word for 2022, because they think world is a Pappu. Answer is the world is not a Pappu. People are smarter and people understand what's going on.
Thank you.
Chairman, sir, there is a hybrid war which is going on. There are powers which are here to devastate India, and not that they have not tried earlier. They have come to the conclusion that the galvanizing power of this country has to be stalled somewhere. They have tried traditional methods of terrorism, and they have got defeated in conventional wars. So this is a new form of warfare, and if you see the similarities, we saw what happened in Arab Spring. We saw how disinformation campaigns were led. We saw how panic situations were created. We saw how maximum global attention was sought. We saw how radical religious ideologies were used, how countries were shamed, their sovereignty and symbols of sovereignty challenged, and specter of anarchy was created basically to challenge sovereignty. And all this was done basically to cripple India from within, and through anarchy, and also to make it implode from within, as we have seen. Global action, global sanctions is what they had planned, and I say this with utmost sincerity. When my friend from the opposition, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, used the word that Greta is persona non grata in India. Now, this is not something which behoves a leader from the opposition party. This is something which destroys relationship with friendly nations. And the FIR is to search, because I do not believe that a child, for me, 18-year-old is a child. She may technically be an adult, but I see her still as a child. An 18-year-old cannot create that toolkit. A farmer and cannot coordinate action across continents, cannot discuss, when you're talking about farmer rights, not a word about farmers. What is the word? Target India's image of chai, tea, and yoga. Is that in farmers' interest? Farmers grow tea, and they'll be happy to build that image. The fact is, there are some inimical power to India and India's well-being which are acting. And I think it's time this House pays attention to it. I will seek one more minute, sir. The global action and the manner in which the provocation that happened, the provocation was similar to what happened at US Capitol Hill. And that provocation was bad for that country. But how desecration of Red Fort is good for the country? Can you see the similarity? Can you see the manner in which duplicity lies? Can you see the narrative being changed? And another thing which I felt was regarding demeaning our heroes. Demonizing our heroes is what I also saw. The corporates, when you say corporates are bad, why don't you say Mark Zuckerberg is bad? If you're against corporates. And there are plenty of corporates in Sweden, there are plenty of corporates in US. Why don't you say Jack Dorsey should be challenged? Why don't you say there are other Rockefeller to whatever else should be challenged? Answer is not that. They are the beneficiaries of capitalism. And when the countries and people who are beneficiaries of capitalism challenge capitalism in another country, because capitalism has helped prosper those countries. When you need to pull people out of poverty, a lot of energy is cost. And that energy comes through certain capitalists. Vilifying your own leaders, vilifying your own corporates, vilifying your own heroes is what has been done on the floor of this house. I challenge that. I challenge people, and it is very evident that a Moldova cocktail is going on. And that Moldova cocktail is who? Khalistanis. It includes PFI, which we saw in CAA, and it also includes ISI propaganda. Because when you see the referendum of Khalistan in 2020, it does not talk about Nankana Sahab. It does not talk about the 6 sites present in Pakistan. And that is a giveaway that who all are involved, or they are just being his master's voice sitting in Beijing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Jai
you.
Hind.